Alright folks, so this knife here I'm making for a Mr. Simmons. That is the thickness of the handle, has blue G10 liners, JG10 scales with brass pins. That's looking at it from the edge, you can see how thick that is. Now this is a bush knife, so it's meant to be, real heavy, especially when, for the striking, for chopping, stuff like that. It's made to really withstand being beaten and abused. It's been acid washed to a darker gray, and it's been stone washed as well. I don't know how well you're going to be able to pick that up. Everything's done by hand with files. All these bevels and everything. So they're not going to be absolutely perfect. It's all done, by hand. I purposely made this down here a bit thicker. As you can tell, it kind of goes from a thinner thickness here and then swedges out. That gives it a little bit more force on that downward swing. I convex this side of the blade here, as you can see, to kind of give it a little bit easier time splitting wood and everything. Believe it or not, it does help. Now this side's been smoothed out. There are no real serious bevels on it. This side's wider, so it acts kind of like a wedge. When it drives in, it splits that wood open. This took me about 3 days or so working out there on the forge. Not continuously, that was off and on, I've got a kid and everything else, so there's that. But it is, a nice hefty blade. I'd say it weighs about 2 pounds or so, maybe 1.5 pounds. It's a nice chopper and everything. You got this grip down here where you can really get a hold of it and get a good heavy swing on it. But then if you want or need a little more control, you can grab up here like this and you have that control, that, good solid grip for the control on it. You can carve with it. You can do a lot of things with it with this knife. It's made basically to do whatever you want with it. Hell, you could probably chop a tree down with it, which I wouldn't recommend, but it could be done. The handles on it and everything are pretty durable. Handle scales are. I really do like how durable G10 is. Some of it's iffy, some of it's not. Now this G10 I kind of got into some trouble with. It had some air pockets in it and I didn't realize it until I put the scales on. As you can see, if I can get my camera here to focus, there's a little bit of a gap here and a slight gap there where the air bubbles were. There's really nothing I can do about it. It is what it is. It's not really going to affect it any. It just affects the look of it, but that's about it. Get my hair back a little bit. It's made, I'm able to take it to a railroad spike and cut chunks out of a railroad spike and still shave paper with it. I can chop through wood pretty damn quick. I can whittle just about anything I want to out with it. I've still got to make the sheath for it, which will take me about a week to get it done. So once I get the sheath made, I'll post a video of the sheath done and everything else, get it all showed to you and everything. But this thing here is a good all-around bush knife, good chopper, whatever you want to use it for. I mean, I could seriously see the many potential uses this thing has. And the balance on it, the balance of this blade is, get it balanced again. Balance of this blade, yeah, there we go, is perfect. Now, that's why the handle on it's so thick, because I knew I'd have to have a heavier blade to be using for the chopping and for everything else. So I balanced it out very well. And the way I do my touch mark and everything else. All my knives will have that little indent in them. That's where my touch mark is. That's the Swan logo I use. Every one of the knives is going to have an indent right there. That's just a part of it. Now, this was done over the past about 2.5 weeks of me working on it off and on. It's a very well-rounded, very comfortable knife. It's really comfortable in your hand. Even though the grip looks a little large, a little bulky or uncomfortable, it's really not. I mean, there's bulky and uncomfortable, and then there's just, kind of odd, bulky look, but it's rather comfortable for its size. Especially once you grip it up here, you feel like you're holding on to a normal knife, like a regular sized handle. But this thing's built to last, and it's built to take a beating. I mean, say what you want to about it, and give me your ideas, your comments, and everything else, and I'll look them over and ponder them about and whatnot. I know that there's some inclusions and stuff in it, but like I said, I can't control, the quality of the G10 because I'm not the one that makes it. I buy it from a supplier, and I've already got in contact with them and told them, hey, look, this had several inclusions in it and everything else. Now, when I initially started on this knife, I figured, hey, I'll just make it like I do all the others and everything else. Well, I got to thinking about the way I was going to shape it, the way I was going to do everything, and it just took on a mind of its own, so to speak. In the original drawing, this here bellied up a little bit higher, and this, instead of it coming in like it does with that drop, it was rounded out. Nice round choil. And this stuck out about that far. A little bit wider than the rest of the blade. But once I got that done and I got to feeling how it felt in the hand and everything, I switched it up quite a bit, made it a lot more comfortable. Now, the pins on this are brass Corby bolts. They're not solid pin stock, but they are solid brass. I prefer the Corby bolts over the pins. They give you a lot more security because you can countersink them, in which I did here. And instead of just going through the scales and the handle, it actually gives grip. The scales have a slight ledge on the inside of them. They're drilled about halfway through, maybe a little more. The head of the bolt and the nut of the bolt set on top of that and work, like it's meant to, and really gives it a good grip. Now, the reason I did only 2 of these here is because the end of the handle here has some holes in it that allowed the epoxy to seep through and really grip on, and I done some grooves in the back here to really give it some grip to help the epoxy grip into, because I didn't want to add more weight to it than it needed. I cut weight on the handle by taking off the extra 2 pins and space these a little further apart, but didn't really affect it any. I mean, I beat the hell out of this today, and it held up really well. It held up better than what I expected it to, and there's no dinks, no chips, no rolls, no nothing. That's the edge that it had on it when it came up against the railroad spike. And it'll, if I can ever get my hands to work properly here. Stupid hands. My hands are cramping up, and that's one of my kids' drawings. She'd get mad at me. Quit cramping up. Oh, come on, don't you make a liar out of me. If I can ever get it to start. There we go. It was all just a matter of keeping the edge from rolling on the paper. Once I stopped the roll on the edge of it, now it's just Damn it. My hands don't want to cooperate and they keep crumbling the paper up, so I can't cut through it like I need to. But, I mean, it did cut through. I did manage to get it to cut through there. So, well, like I said, it's just my hands acting up tonight. But overall, I'd say this is a very well-rounded bush knife. It's gonna hold up for a long time. Now, when I done the blade, I noticed it almost looked like it decarbed, but it didn't. What decarb means, if you don't know a lot of knife talk real well or anything like that, decarb is decarbonization. Now, that's where you get these little dots and speckles on the top of your steel. It's where you've burned the steel. This has that look to it, but after I've done a few tests on it and everything, it didn't decarb. It just, the steel, it almost took on a look like Damascus, where the higher carbon was and the lower carbon was. The lower carbon areas of the steel kind of etched down from the acid, where the higher concentration of the carbon in the steel were raised up a little bit higher on this here. So that's not decarb, it's just where it's higher and lower amounts of carbon in the steel, and you can see it on both sides. But it freaked me out there for a little while, not gonna lie. But this thing here, if I were to start making a few of them, which I'm thinking about, I want any opinions you can give me on them. I mean, I'm thinking about making a few of these and selling them. Instead of the Tonto variant, I'm thinking about doing a Bowie style blade instead of the Tanto. And I'm thinking on going ahead and keeping the G10, G10 with the blue. I'm thinking instead of blue liners, I'm thinking doing red and keeping the brass pins. So let me know what you think about that idea, guys.